Daddy?
Yeah, buddy.
Where's he going?
The dog?
Yeah.
He's going on a walk. There? Maybe? No? Alright guys, welcome back again to the speed shop. Continuing work on the Honda 450. So as you saw in the previous video, we got the new chain, sprockets, and all that good stuff put on. And now we're going to be working on the new suspension. This is a RaceTech 6.6 spring. As I mentioned in the previous video, this is a higher rated spring for more weight because, again, for the millionth time, I'm a pretty big guy. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started on installing this. And I already have a MotionPro spanner wrench that should be all I need to take this thing apart for the most part. So yeah, it's just going to be getting the subframe apart and then disconnecting the link down at the bottom, and there's a bolt at the top that holds it in. Should be pretty straightforward. Yeah, and should improve the ride quality for me, and then I can adjust the sag and everything from there a little bit more precisely for a guy my size. We're gonna get this shit set up, get the subframe apart. I'm not gonna go over too much detail on how to do that because I did that in my carburetor video series. So I'm just pretty much gonna time lapse through getting the subframe off because it's, you know, 3 bolts, a muffler, and an airbox. That's about it. So that's going to do it for the subframe. Real easy. Like I said, I've done it before on my carb rebuild video. Not hard to do at all. So now I'm going to get the shock off. 17 millimeter up top with the backside locks in place so you don't have to use a wrench or anything to hold it. And then there's one bolt on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and get this one done and then sort of rock the shock forward and see what I can make happen from there. I'm not sure again where it left off, my battery died, but let me show you what happened just in case I missed anything. So there's 2 of these bolts holding the shock in place. They're flat on one side, and essentially there's one here and the flat side goes in this groove right here to hold it in place. There's a 17 millimeter nut on the other side. Undo the nut, pop the bolt out, and the same thing right here, 17 millimeter nut. Undo the nut, pop the bolt out, and the whole shock just over there. Okay, now getting this spring off is going to be a little tricky because of how corroded this shit is, but I soaked it in PB Blaster for a little while. Basically, I have a steel punch. I'm going to put it on these teeth on this lock ring. And basically, I'm just going to tap it on out until it gets loose, which shouldn't be much. I think I already broke it loose pretty much. Now there's some slack in the spring, so you were paying attention to what the hell just happened. Basically, this little sear clip was inside of this sort of bell-shaped housing right here, and it was holding this retaining seat in. So I had to hammer this down enough to expose the sear clip, pull the sear clip out with a pick, and then sort of wedge it out with a flathead. And then once that was out, I was able to dead blow the ring off. So now the spring, which was held on with a zip tie, is able to come out. There we go. Old one out, new one going in. Actually, before I do that, I'm gonna clean this off really well, just so I can make sure this goes on a little bit easier. I'm gonna clean both of these, so hold on. Steer clip's back on, retaining seat is back on, and the tension from the spring will obviously keep the seat in place over the steer clip. So once I get everything tightened back down, this will all be neatly in place. A little bit of a side note, this is really easy to cross thread. If you want a surefire way to not cross thread, reverse thread it until you hear a loud click. There. Yep, there we go. So you'll hear the leading edge of the thread on the ring attached to the leading edge of the thread on the body, and you can know you're not cross-threaded at that point. Now, just as a baseline for this, I'm going to go to where this was at, and you probably can't see on the camera at all, but there is a section where the threads go from clean to not so clean. So I'm going to tighten these down till that point. Alright, bottom ring is right where we want it. Now, same thing with the lock ring. First, there we go. Okay, I think that just about does it for the new spring. So now obviously we need to get this thing installed. Should be pretty straightforward. Just the 2 bolts, really. And now I am going to be just adjusting sag and all that later, once the bike's obviously back together and I'm sitting on it and have someone else helping me. But yeah, we're gonna go here.